Hi, everybody. We are so excited that you can come and join us on another webinar from our ALRES community. I'm Teacher Audrey.
And I am Teacher Kix, and we are from the ALRES Occupational Therapy Department. We are here to tackle a topic that is very much close to our OT hearts.
Yes, we will be talking about sensory integration, attachment, and relationship while still having fun at the same time. Before we start our discussion, we would like to show you three situations that we might be able to relate with. Let's take a look. This kid is always on the move. He has difficulty remaining in one place and would run all over the place. He never seems to get dizzy. He just could not keep himself still.
While mommy is having trouble to calm him down while balancing her work in the office at the same time. She's worried of being consistent in trying to provide for her kids' emotional needs.
He also loves music and loud sounds. That's why he is often found in the music section of the store dancing to whatever song he hears.
While mommy is worried about how her neighbors would react seeing her kid shouts and plays loud music inside the house.
How about another kid? Now, this kid has battles at home, from refusing to take showers and having her teeth brushed to refusing to wear certain types of clothes because it's itchy or ouchy, evident by all the clothes lying on the floor. This is really a struggle every day.
While mommy frustrated about how the battles would make her kid cry, she would often give in to her wants, often buying expensive and specific brands or adjusting her daily schedule just to meet her wants and needs.
Then here comes mealtime. Name the
Mhm.
food, and her answer will always be no. She's a very, very picky eater and would only prefer a certain type of food all the time. Sometimes even becoming particular with certain brands only, or else get ready for food being thrown all over the place.
While mommy, on the other hand, is very much troubled on what food and nutrition to put in her kid's tummy. She would often cook or buy the same food over and over again, which of course it troubles the family eating the same food over and over again, and this would reinforce her child to become the boss of the house.
Let's take a look at one more situation. Imagine you are in the park where there's noise everywhere and kids running around. But this kid has no idea what's going on. Even if he is in an environment where there are lots of people around for him to play with, he would still be found standing on one side, not knowing what to do. He would often be late in reacting or responding when other people are trying to call his attention, or in Tagalog, manhid.
While daddy, feeling exasperated how much his kid is so insensitive to the world around him, he gets angry on how clumsy his kid is. So angry at times that he tends to leave his kid in daycare with his relatives. But at the end of the day, he is constantly worried on how could he do his role as the kid's dad.
Are these scenarios familiar to you? Or is this something that you face on a daily basis? For some or most parents, are you always stressed out and you feel that something is wrong with your parenting style? Or worse, you feel that you are a bad parent and you feel that these problems happen more during the pandemic? What do you think of that, Teacher Gigs?
Well, yes, Teacher Audrey. The pandemic and the quarantine too, they have an effect on how our kids behave. Because during this pandemic period, we see a lot of what we call challenging behaviors. But what is behavior? Exactly. Behaviors are essentially anything that we do. The way we move, the way we talk, and the way we walk. And it's important to know that there is always a reason. There's always a reason behind the behavior. And the fact that there's always a reason behind it, behaviors too are a means to communicate needs. They are means to communicate something that the child needs. In fact, there's a reason why our kids flap their arms, run around the house, being picky with what they eat, or despite having lots of noise around, they don't seem to notice at all. And in fact, they don't respond. They don't respond to anything at all. And the fact that we are seeing more of these behaviors, it can communicate that our kids are becoming increasingly stressed during the pandemic period. And the pandemic period can definitely stress our minds out, can put us on the edge, and much more for our kids. But why is that? The pandemic and the quarantine that goes with it, it creates what we call a collective trauma, which means we, the entire human race, all share the experience. We see the best and the worst of humanity in its ups and its downs. But what do I mean by trauma in the first place? It's a word to call any deeply disturbing or distressing experience that is trauma, such as in today's events, which stresses our kids out. It's not just the fear of getting infected that causes a stress, but the changes that comes along with it, such as not being able to go out like they used to. Our kids are not able to go out like they used to, or having big changes in their routine, like not being able to go to school, have recess or play with friends, or to have a gala with the close people in their lives, the people that they form an attachment to. Or it could be changes like the death of a loved one, someone close and dear to our hearts. These things and more can be considered trauma, which all have an impact on the well being, an impact on the well being that we have and our kids have. And because trauma stresses us so much, it can definitely push our minds to a state of fight or flight. And when our minds are in that state of stress, of that fight or flight, it can give us a hard time processing information and learning. And such effects would include having so much emotion, panic, or irritation with small things. Another effect of trauma could be the fact that we could get very stuck in that very emotional phase. Another thing is it can challenge our ability to think, problem solve, because it's tough to think when we are stressed. And it can also lessen our capacity to memorize, to for us to gain new information and to learn, because learning can only take place in safety. Learning can only take place in safety. In such a state of stress, the sensation of safety and comfort for our kids goes out of the window. And along with it are their ability to function in their everyday tasks. And trauma can cause our kids to feel unsafe within their homes, within their families, or even with their own bodies. Imagine not feeling safe in your own body. That's where the concept of censoring, sensory processing difficulties takes place. What is sensory processing in the first place? Take it away, Teacher Audrey.
Yes, Teacher Kicks. Did you know that your kids also have their own version of inner battle? Kids feel sad because they often told that they are bad, weird, or makulit. Most of the time, they are also compared to their peers or siblings. But in reality, the reason behind all their confusing behavior is their unique sensory processing. Just like what Jess Lair said, children are not things to be molded, but people to be unfolded. We often want to fit our kid into this idea of who they should be and forget that we have to discover who they are instead. We hope that through this webinar, we would be able to open up a new way for you to see the kid, your kid, and each other, and to be able to relate to one another in a more meaningful and safe way. So, going back, what exactly is sensory processing disorder? Sensory integration is a theory developed by an occupational therapist named Dr. Jean Ayers. She said that sensory integration is the central nervous system translating information into action. In other words, it's the process of using or integrating our senses to help us do everyday things. It's that feeling that we have when we are able to react appropriately to different situations based on what we are feeling or experiencing. It's like the game Pass the Message, where we start by feeling something through our senses, who then tells our brain what kind of feeling it is and how much sensation do we feel, in order for it to tell our body how to react towards it and connect to the world around me. However, just like the game, sometimes the message gets all mixed up, resulting in a different output or reaction from the body. This is why you call sensory processing disorder or SPD. These mixed up signals may also affect one or more systems in our body. So let's start with our senses. We are all familiar with our five senses, right? Touch, taste, sight, sound, and smell. But did you know that we have additional senses? We also have our vestibular sense that helps us to know where we are in space, like if we are standing upright or sideways, which helps us with our balance and coordination. Next is our proprioceptive sense that helps us where to know our different body parts are and how they are moving. And the last one is our interoceptive system that helps us understand and feel what is going on inside our body and tells us if we are hungry, full, hot, cold, or thirsty, and so much more. With every one of the seven sensory systems, kids process that information on a range that is unique to each child and can change over time or throughout the day. But for now, we will just give an overview of two general types of reaction. This is overreaction and underreaction. Overreaction, also known as hypersensitivity or overprocessing, happens when the brain keeps sending messages about a particular sensation over and over again. So instead of the kids adapting to or ignoring the sensation, they can become upset, overly particular, or even have a meltdown. They become sensitive or try to avoid certain situations that are generally tolerable for others. Just like the kid in the video who had her home battles in refusing to wear certain clothes because of the tag on her shirt, or the fabric of her dress makes her uncomfortable, or the design might be too confusing even by just looking at it, or not wanting to take a bath because she doesn't like to be scrubbed, or the scent of the shampoo bothers her. She also hates having her teeth brushed because it feels painful for her. She is becoming a very picky eater because certain textures and tastes make her feel sick or gag. On the other hand, underreaction, also known as hyposensitivity or underprocessing, is the total opposite. This occurs when the brain does not seem to register the sensation. Thus, they would need more input for the brain to take notice of it. These kids may often seem wild, hyper, or maybe even be called bad. Like the other kid in the video who needed more input by running around and is always on the go, his body needed more input to be able to feel the sensation around him. Another example that we saw is the other kid who seems to not care at all about anything that is happening around him. While all the kids were playing around, he took a longer time to notice his playmates. It would often take several times to call his attention before he responded. We can also imagine our body as different types of cups. We have to fill it with just the right amount of sensory input. If we are getting too much or too little, we may also get upset or have a meltdown. With this knowledge, we can also try to see everything now through our new sensory lenses, because sometimes we get lost in the problem-solving part to find strategies that can work, desperate for solutions to help our kids that we missed out. We see the behavior, but we miss the child and the intention they communicate behind the behavior. We forget they are just kids who can experience different things and emotions. Now, are you ready? First of all, we should be prepared. Just like a soldier getting ready for battle, train your sensory lenses to try to look for patterns. You can even make a list and observe when your kid gets upset. When does he get excited? Look at what is happening before and after the behavior happens. We have to remember that sensory processing disorder is not the end of the world. It is the beginning of a whole new world. We also have to say yes to constant change. Accept that one day, one thing is okay, and the next day it may be different. Don't quit also. Acknowledge that you and your kid may be having a hard time, and it's no one's fault. Remember that your kid is not giving you a hard time intentionally, but may just be having a hard time telling you what is really bothering him. Believe also that in the heart of your kid that he is really trying to do his best. Kids don't mean to be challenging, but they are also trying to figure out the world and how to keep it all together. Look beyond their behavior. They might be fighting something that we can't see. Let's take advice from a wise bear who said that things that make me different are the things that make me. Dr. Ross Greene also said, kids or children do well when they can. We have to understand the why behind the things that we are doing. Now that you're all set, let's dive in some more. Always let your kid feel safe and never force your kid to do any sensory activity. Always respect a kid's boundaries in relation to sensory activities. They should be motivated and be willing to participate. Take note that your kid might be overwhelmed by the activity. That is why he is refusing it. Just like what Teacher Kicks mentioned, learning happens in a place of safety. And one way to introduce the activity is to show how it's done and encourage your kid to join you in doing the activity together. Trying to bring them out of their comfort zone step by step, but still allowing them to take the lead. Sensory needs may change from day to day or even moment to moment, But don't give up. If one activity or approach does not work today, you can give it a try again tomorrow or another day. Like what Miss Kim Barthel said, if it works, it's treatment. If it does not, it's evaluation. She also mentioned that kids know what they need and they treat themselves. Understanding your kid's response before, during, and after the activity will help you determine what your next move should be. Always remember that each one of us is unique. So your response may be totally different from your kids. Before choosing an activity, you can also ask yourself the following questions. Will it be too loud? Will it be too crowded? Will there be lots of smells? Will there be a lot of things to see? Will your kid need a break in between? Then try to observe his response during and after the activity. Does he try to interact and communicate more with others? Does he seem more calm, more focused, attentive, eating better? Does he follow directions more quickly? Now that you know what your kid needs and wants, let's have a little fun. We can incorporate sensory in your everyday routine. During playtime, we can provide all sensory input they need to keep them organized and prepare them for tasks that require more focus and attention. Some suggestions include playing sports or any form of play that involves movement and deep pressure, like pretending to be Superman or working out together, wrestling, having piggyback rides. You can also incorporate bonding time like reading and still provide input with your hugs, cuddles, or massages, as well as modifying the environment. Other fun things to do are jumping or crashing safely, playing ball, running, riding a bike or scooter, and skateboard. Kitchen household chores not only provide a sense of responsibility, but it's also a very rich sensory experience, especially to those picky eaters. You can let your kid help out around the house by washing the dishes, helping in preparing meals, cleaning by wiping, sweeping, mopping, carrying, moving things, doing laundry, and so much more. Food-related activities are also helpful, like eating crunchy food or sipping a cold drink or thick liquids through a straw. You can also have pre-feeding activities like blowing bubbles, feathers, balloons, or anything lightweight. Generally speaking, it is better to provide firm touch or deep pressure compared to light touch, especially if your kid is sensitive. We also have to take into consideration the light, odor, and noise in the environment. It may be helpful to play soft music, eliminate strong smells, or dim the lights. On the other hand, some kids may need fast-paced music, strong smells, or bright lights to focus. Another thing to have is you have to have your team. Have a team of people to help. And what better way to start than at home with your family? Get everybody involved. That's the reason why they said it takes a village to raise a child. Meaning, everyone has a role, from parents to grandparents to siblings to people who help take care of your kid and even to your pets. Seek help also from your doctors, teachers, and therapists who have the knowledge about sensory processing disorder. That way, they can guide you and help you on this journey. All of these might be overwhelming for you, but we are here to tell you that you are doing a good job. So just keep going and don't give up. It will get better. All these strategies can help our kids put themselves back together. But if there's anything that can be therapeutic, it is you and your presence, being with your child. Like what Dr. Seuss said, to the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world. We also want to explore on being able to respond more than to react. How we respond to our kids when they are upset can either break or make them. As Dr. Seuss would put it, today I shall behave as if this is the day I will be remembered. How do you want your kids to remember you? L.R. Nost also mentioned that when little people are overwhelmed by big emotions, it's our job to share our calm and not join in their chaos. So let us become our child's best friend. For our strategies to work and thus learning to happen, there's another thing that we need to consider. What do you think that is, Teacher Kicks?
The thing is, we can only function and learn when we are in the place of safety. But what creates the safety? What creates the safety that we need for us to learn and to function as well as for kids? What creates safety is a thing that we call relationships. As this collective trauma causes stress, it too creates an opportunity to grow resilient and safe with the family, to grow at peace with the family. Relationship is, in fact, the key to resilience. It creates a context of comfort and safety. Relationships too, they too create the best context for function and learning to happen. Just as all the behaviors having a purpose and all the behaviors are a means to communicate something about our child, all behaviors too begin and happen in the context of family, of our relationships. According to studies about trauma, in the events of severe trauma, a big factor that separates people who develop lasting symptoms of trauma and those that do not develop lasting symptoms of severe trauma, the key factor are the people around them and the quality of the relationships that they have. These are the people that they form attachments with, the people who can they feel, the people who can they feel vulnerable with, the people that they can be vulnerable with. Along with the concept of vulnerability is the concept of co-regulation. Co-regulation means helping our kids to handle or regulate their emotions. To co-regulate means giving kids an opportunity to feel what they feel, express how they feel, and helping them feel better. Because when we are able to hold space for all their emotions, we are helping them to put themselves back together. And co-regulation only happens when kids feel safe and secure to express themselves with the person that they form an attachment to. A concept related to co-regulation is holding space, which means holding a safe, accepting space for them to cry on or to feel negative emotions without redirecting, dismissing, or forcing them to stop. And for a lot of us, it is very tempting to argue or be angry with them when we see them doing something bad. or when they feel bad, when they're angry, when they throw things, it's often we see their behavior, we react to their behavior rather than responding to the intention behind the behavior. And if we are not able to make them feel comfortable in feeling and in expressing themselves, they may have a harder time understanding what they feel. And when they have a harder time understanding what they feel, they will also have a harder time calming, regulating themselves in the process. And the thing is, if we cannot tolerate, if we cannot tolerate what we feel, it will be very difficult for us to tolerate how they feel. It will be very difficult for us to teach them to tolerate how they feel. To hold back, to dismiss, to push away all their emotions, or when we inconsistently respond to their emotions, one time we're angry with them, one time we're listening to them, it it is what keeps the pain in place. It is what keeps the trauma in place. Because holding space means giving words or doing actions that says, I am here with you. I am present with you. It's okay to feel what you feel because I am here for you. And when we hold space for their emotions, and when we tolerate their emotions with them, they learn to tolerate themselves. And that's how kids and people in general learn to regulate, such as how our relatives regulate with us, so too do we regulate our kids. Another concept is attunement. Attunement is a form of empathy in which we put our mind in the mind of other people or our kids and to try to see as how they see and feel the world around them as they do. And putting our mind in the mind of our kids helps us create connection with them, helps us to feel that we are connected with them and they too are connected with us. Attunement means asking questions like, how does this make you feel? What made you feel this way? How hard is it? Narrating their actions, narrating how they feel. And to be attuned to our kids, we need to do three very important things. It happens, attunement happens when we ask questions, when we deeply listen, and when we become curious, when we become curious of why they do things. And this only happens when we stop to see what they do. When we stop ourselves from reacting or acting and just waiting to see what they do. It also happens when we share experiences with them, playing with them, being in their presence when they are in school or when they are doing their work. It happens when we watch, when we wait, and when we wonder. Watch, wait, and wonder on how they behave and why they behave. Attunement is a key to help understand their behavior, and it helps them feel safe because children can't feel safe unless we connect and create a relationship with them. So, speaking of becoming attuned with our kids, Teacher Audrey, don't we have some helpful things to say to our kids?
Yes, Teacher Kicks. Let's start with this quote. The solution to every parenting problem starts with 9 words. I'm here. I hear you. How can I help you? Emotions are meant to be experienced and felt. So we have to acknowledge and validate those feelings by saying, it's okay to be upset. And did you know that the best gift you can give to your kid is to stay with them in their emotion? To simply be there for them, telling them, I'm here for you and I'm staying. Also, it isn't the emotion itself that needs to be changed, but rather how we are expressing it. It's okay to feel that, but it's not okay to whatever action he did. So it's like saying it's okay to be angry, but it is not okay to hit. And also, don't forget to remind your kid that he is a good person. So being angry or frustrated is not being bad. We just sometimes make mistakes or bad choices. But that is how we act and not who we are. Let us also teach our kids that we can learn something from our actions and find a solution on how to handle it, especially when it happens again. And of course, it will be better soon. We can try to change it up a bit by having some breathing exercises that are applicable to both you and your kid so that you can calm yourself for you to be able to calm your kid. So let's have a little bit of fun again. So the first one is the flower breath. So imagine smelling a flower, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Breathing in and out. And then the other one is the bunny breath. So this one is you take 3 quick sniffs through the nose and 1 long exhale through the nose. The next one is the snake breath. So inhale slowly through the nose and breathe out through the mouth with a long, slow hissing sound. And of course, we have our blow out the cake candle. Okay, so imagine a birthday candle. Take in deep breath through the nose and then exhale through the mouth to blow out the candle. Then we can also combine. Smell the flower and blow out the candle. Holding up your pointer finger to your nose as you smell the flower and then drop your finger to your mouth as you blow out the candle. Okay, Teacher Kicks, I think you also have something to add, right?
Yeah, right. The thing is, function and learning, guess what? Function and learning happens best in the context of oxytocin. Oxytocin is, in fact, a brain chemical that gives us a feeling of love. Oxytocin gives us the feeling of love. And this feeling of love happens when we form a relationship. And when the brain feels safe, connected, and available, when the brain is in the context of oxytocin, of love, of acceptance, learning, and function for us and our kids, they, they become optimized.
Agree, Teacher Kicks. We also know that it takes great effort to be able to figure everything out. So just a reminder that the information we give is just an overview topic and there is so much more to learn. But this can be a great starting point for you. We also want to help you on this journey. That's why we have come up with an offer.
Yes, yes, teach. For the first 5 parents who will email us with the subject, "You are safe with me," to alresotdepartment@gmail.com, you will be getting a free consultation with one of our licensed occupational therapists. And this offer is only valid until July 19, 2020 only. So don't miss out this opportunity. And we would like to end this session with a magnificent quote from a bear that we all know and love. How do you spell love? Asked Piglet. You don't spell it, you feel it, said Pooh.
Okay, we also would like to thank our sponsor for this webinar, Inspiring Curiosity Toy Store. They sell carefully curated, high-quality educational toys and learning materials for kids' play needs. You can search them on Instagram, Inspiring Curiosity. Also, don't forget to click like, follow, and hit the subscribe button of our page, Audrey's Philippines, for exciting news and updates. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and we hope to
Thank
see you
you.
soon again.
See you
Okay,
soon.
bye.
Bye.